My name is Matthew Manos. I'm the founder of verynice. verynice is a global design and innovation consultancy based in Los Angeles that gives over half its work away for free to nonprofits. What we actually do, we do quite a wide range of things because we work with a really wide range of clients too. So on one side we have for-profit clientele, which are big corporations, small businesses, tech startups. On the other side we have large nonprofit organizations, really small kind of community-based nonprofit organizations, and sort of startup nonprofits also. And because of that, we've gained a lot of sort of skills that not only help one sector or the other, but sort of transcend both. And so what I mean by that is when we're helping a nonprofit organization, we actually are taking a lot of the skills that we've learned with helping big for-profit companies and applying it the same way. So we help nonprofits think more like businesses do in order to operate more effectively. And then vice versa, we help for-profit companies think more like nonprofits do in terms of having some sort of social impact or having some sort of cause-driven mission. verynice's mission sort of has two components to it. The first component is to prove that small businesses, especially design studios and consultancies, can do a lot of philanthropy. I think very often society in general will hold big businesses very accountable towards giving back to society at some standard, but whenever a small business does nothing, we don't even do a double take. So we want to sort of show that small businesses should be held accountable to that. And then the second part of things is to alleviate expenses from nonprofit organizations. So according to Harvard Business Review, every single year, nonprofit organizations collectively in the United States alone will spend close to $8 billion towards people like me, towards marketing and design professionals. That's the money that they literally set aside for those expenses. And so one part of our mission, by showing that a model like ours is possible, is to actually replicate what we're doing and inspire other studios to stop charging nonprofit organizations, because if those expenses didn't exist, if there was just a spare $8 billion lying around, imagine the impact that could be made with that if it was going directly to the cause itself. So verynice currently is comprised of a pretty small local team in Los Angeles. There's 2 full-time and about 8 part-time, so there's about 10 of us here. But something that's unique about our model and unique about the way we work is that we leverage what's called a social production model, where, similar to crowdsourcing, we have a large group of people that we can tap into, but the key difference being that these are all personal connections of ours. So we have over 200 people worldwide that help us out pro bono as volunteers for organizations and also as paid contractors for our for-profit work. So the team itself has gotten quite large over the years. It's actually doubled in the past 12 months alone, from 100 to over 200. We've now helped build over 300 brands total, so we've worked with over 300 clients. Over 200 of those are nonprofit organizations, and all of the pro bono services that we've given out have actually added up to just over $900,000 now. And our goal before 2014 is to hit the $1 million mark. That'll be our biggest milestone to date. The work that we've done spans 6 continents and over 40 countries. So I started verynice in 2008, pretty much from an apartment at UCLA while I was still in school. But the actual origins of it are a few years before that, back to 2005 when I started my freelance design career. Which is when I was 16 years old. I was still in high school, and I had started taking this class on design, or on, I think they called it digital art back then. And basically I was learning Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, sort of the basics of a lot of these things. And I got really into it, and a lot of my family members could see that I was really starting to find the thing that I like to do. And so in order to sort of support that, my godmother, who was studying art in Australia at the time, decided to send me a CD-ROM disc of a pirated copy of Photoshop. And so all of a sudden, beyond the school sort of allowed lab hours on the computers provided to you, I was able to save money, buy my own laptop, and put that copy of Photoshop on there in order to really teach myself more and get really into it. But I found that I probably like everybody that was learning Photoshop for the first time. I was like bulging my eyes, I was making my hair crazy, I was doing lots of really corny stuff with the filters and just getting into it, but maybe in a non-meaningful way, you could say. So I was sort of curious and looking just to sort of open opportunities to work with, on a project that was maybe more meaningful or more interesting or that was more challenging for myself. Back then, and still to this day, I spent a lot of time skateboarding, and every Saturday I would go to the skate park with my dad and with my friend Tristan in Sunnyvale. And something really interesting happened one day where I was just sitting on the ledge, sort of in between skating around the park, taking a break, and I noticed a man in a wheelchair jump into the bowl. And I also immediately noticed that he was pretty much more competent than anybody else in the park, and he was in a wheelchair. So needless to say, that was a pretty unusual sighting. And so I decided to roll a little bit closer to him. And then I noticed he wasn't alone. He was with a lot of other little kids that were also in wheelchairs. And that was really kind of piqued my curiosity. And so I decided to roll even closer. And I noticed that he wasn't just kind of there with friends, but he was actually teaching these kids. And so I finally sparked a conversation with him and learned that he was the founder of a nonprofit organization. At the time, it was called Wheelchair Skater, that helped kids that were disabled learn how to get around a skate park, basically, as simple as that. That was a really simple concept that he had, but it was the first time I ever personally met the founder of a nonprofit. And I realized at that moment that there's really something to that person. They really would die for that cause. They're just so passionate. It's rare to meet someone that passionate. And I decided, okay, this is the guy that I want to be, pushing my Photoshop skills for. And so I asked him, do you need any stickers, to help market the organization? And he said, sure. So I designed a few stickers. Looking back at them, they look absolutely horrible because I was still learning, but so I probably wouldn't ever share them with anybody. But I knew that moment, as simple as it was, just designing some stickers, I pretty much decided right then that this is who I want to work with for the rest of my life. And still to this day, that desire hasn't dissolved. So I made those decisions pretty early. Soon after high school, I got into UCLA, the Design Media Arts program. And the moment that I arrived, sort of in my first year, I decided similarly, I don't want to just be doing class assignments here. I want to be doing something for organizations or for real people or businesses or whatever. And so I started volunteering for a lot of student groups. And throughout my 4 years, it ended up adding up to over 30 student groups that I had worked with. And that really, along with Wheelchair Skater, served as the basis of our client list today and the basis of a lot of our connections that we still work with. So my sophomore year and my junior year, I started doing this type of work at a much higher volume, started taking on quite a few clients. And I felt the need to put a name to all of this. And so that's when, there was sort of this year there where I was trying to figure out what is the name of this, or really what is it that I want to do, what does this look like? And then along that time, the same time frame, I was taking on a lot of internships. And I realized that there was, just through those experiences, while they were great, I realized that there really was a huge need to rethink the way that the design industry operated, especially in its relationship and treatment of nonprofit organizations, specifically seeing, either how much these studios or companies were charging for nonprofit work, or the flip side, if they were doing it pro bono, how little of an emphasis it was on that project, literally shelved for the whole year. And I just realized, there's a huge need here. There's something that needs to be disrupted in this space. And so that's when kind of all the light bulbs went off of, I want to know what would it look like to have a very nice design studio. What would a studio that's actually very nice in its intentions and its offerings, what would that look like? And that was the seed of the actual business, Very Nice. And in the early days, it started as 100% pro bono. where just sort of at night or on the weekends or during class, I was basically helping out organizations and still student groups at no cost. And at that point in my life, I wasn't really trying to think of this as a career. I was thinking of it more as something fun that I like to do. And I always sort of assumed, oh, I'll keep doing this, but I'll go get like a job at an ad agency or something to pay the bills. And then my senior year of college, I remember reflecting on that sort of possibility or that route that I could take and just thinking like, God, I don't want to do that. I really don't want a day job. I really don't want to make this something I do at night because I will never have, the quote-unquote impact that I want to have if I don't make this a full-time effort. And so for that entire year is when the business model itself started to really evolve. So it went from 100% pro bono to like 80% to 70% to 60%. And then by the time I hit 2010, I finally came to this just over 50% pro bono model that we have today. And what I realized was that percentage and just that whole idea of spending over half your time towards giving back, sort of philosophically was something that I was really proud of and was something that I really wanted to share with the world, because if we make giving back an extracurricular activity, there's no way that we're going to have the impact that we need to have. So I just think there's a lot of space for inspiring that type of thought, and that's something that inspires me every day to keep continuing to try to live up to that model. So currently, one of our largest initiatives, which is an internal project, it's called Be Very Nice. So where the Be Very Nice initiative came from was the realization that over the course of 4 years, we were able to save nonprofit organizations in and out of the United States just over $760,000. And while that was incredible, and while we were sort of really excited about that accomplishment, because it's just sort of a lot of money, to be honest, there was this realization that I had that per the stat that I always reference of nonprofit organizations spending close to $8 billion a year towards people like me and towards design studios, marketers, consultants in general, we were only able to, over 4 whole years, put like a dent of 0.01% into that. And that's just not enough. If we want to have the impact that we want to have, if we truly want to alleviate those $8 billion worth of expenses for these organizations so that they can put that directly back into their cause and therefore make more impact, we've got to get other people doing this. So is this all of a sudden this real strong desire that and understanding that we just can't do this ourselves anymore, so we need to open source this business model. Over the past couple of years, I've actually been very hands-on in mentoring a couple dozen entrepreneurs based all around the world that have shown interest in launching a business using our model. So these are people in cities like Melbourne, in the UK, in Austin, in Los Angeles, San Francisco, Pittsburgh, New York, all over the place. And all of them have been really inspired by this idea of giving over half your work away for free to nonprofit organizations. And that's exactly what Be Very Nice is. It's an informal incubator of sorts, as well as a series of tools and resources that help other design studios and other service providers in general give over half their work away for free. So I'm currently finishing up a book about this, and we're also planning for a series of workshops and some online tools that will make it possible for everyday small businesses to make giving back an integral component of their day-to-day operations.